Hello everyone, this is Rick and today we are going to discuss about the kingdoms of South India and we are going to focus on the dynasties of the Cheras, Cholas and the Pandyas. These were the earliest ruling kingdoms in South India. The period where they ruled is also called as Sangam age. So without doing any delay, let's get into details. South Indian kingdoms. Early historical period in South India is generally dated to the 3rd century BC. Recent archaeological findings at Kodumanal suggest possible earlier beginnings around the 4th century BC. So recent archaeological findings in the site of Kodumanal attributes the period to have been started from 4th century BC, whereas generally the South Indian period, the historical period in South India is generally dated to 3rd century BC. The land between the Tirupati hills, which is also known as Vengadam, and the southernmost tip of the peninsula is characterized by fertile rice growing areas with significant agricultural potential. So, the land between the Tirupati hills and the southernmost tip of the Indian subcontinent is having very much fertile soil and also has which also has a great agricultural potential. The Cholas control the lower Kaveri valley corresponding to modern Tanjore and Trichinopoly districts in Tamil Nadu with their capital at Urayur. So what were the areas where the Cholas ruled? They ruled in the modern Tanjore area and Trichinopoly district in Tamil Nadu and their capital was in Urayur. The Pandyas ruled from the valleys of Tamarapani and Vaigai rivers, covering areas like Tirunelveli, Madurai, Ramnath district, with Madurai as their capital. Madurai is still a very significant city in the context of Indian culture. It was the capital of Pandya kingdom. The Chera kingdom had their capital at Karur on the Kerala coast, also known as Vanji, and ruled over the parts of South Travancore. So, roughly, we got an estimation of the area where Cholas, Pandyas, and Cheras ruled. So, what were the main trade networks and how did they conduct their trade from the different ports which were there in South India? Trade participation. All three kingdoms, the Cholas, Pandyas, and the Cheras, participated actively in flourishing trade networks of the time, enhancing their economic power and influence. So, all the three kingdoms, which were more or less contemporary to each other, actively participated in trade, and their trading activities were not only limited to Indian subcontinent but they also did international transactions and thus they extended or enhanced their economic power and influence. The premier Chola port was Puhar, also known as Kaveri Pumpattinam, which was a major center for maritime trade and commerce. So Puhar was the main port of the Chola kingdom and this port of Puhar was called as Kaveri Pumpattinam. This was one of the major port and market area for trade and commerce in the Cholas, in the area of the Cholas. The major Pandya port was Korkai and it was located at the mouth of Tamraparni river. Other significant ports included Tondi and Muchiri. So Tondi and Muchiri were important ports, but the most important and major Pandya port was Korkai. This was located in the mouth of Tamraparni river. The regions were known for trading rice, spices, precious stones, textiles, and other luxury goods, contributing to their prosperity. They also shifted these things or made transactions with these things internationally, and thus you can also find coins of Roman kingdom available in the southern part of Indian subcontinent during this period. And the main products with which they made their dealings were rice, spices, precious stones, textiles, and other luxury goods. These kingdoms were integral to in the Indian Ocean trade routes, connecting them to other civilizations and facilitating cultural and economic exchanges. On the left hand side, you can see the different trade routes which are followed by India at that point of time, and also you can see coin of Roman Emperor Augustus. So their trade routes were often international, and they were not limited to this Indian part of the then world only. Sources of information. How do we come to know about this period? What are the main sources of information? The first and most important source is inscription. Tamil Brahmi inscriptions serve as crucial sources of historical data, corroborating the dates and other events mentioned in literary works. So, in literary works, there are many events mentioned, even though in exaggerated forms or in geological forms, but still many historical facts are mentioned there, and those dates can be corroborated with the dates mentioned in the Tamil Brahmi inscriptions, and thus we the inscriptions act as a main source of information for the period. Royal insignia. The Chola, Chera, and Pandya kings had specific insignia of royalty, such as the staff, drum, umbrella, tiger, bow, and fish, symbolizing their power and authority. So there were different symbolic representations of their power and authority. Those included the staff, drum, umbrella, tiger, bow, and fish. So these things projected the authority of Chera, and Pandya power in the South India. Apart from the main rulers, vendor, were numerous chieftains known as Velir who played significant roles in the politics and warfare of the period. So there were different main rulers, and also there were subsidiary rulers who were the chieftains of different uh, places, and they were called as Velir. They played significant roles in politics and warfare of the period. Frequent internecine conflicts were feature of the time, with kings and chieftains often fighting against each other or forming alliances to consolidate power. So this time different alliances shifted from one period to another, and sometimes the Cheras and Pandyas fought against together against the Cholas. Then again sometimes Cholas and Cheras fought together against the Pandyas. So alliances shifted with time, and therefore there was frequent internal conflicts in this part of Indian history. Historical accounts are also derived from the works of historians like K. A. Nilakantha Shastri, who provide detailed studies of the political history of South India. So, K. A. Nilakantha Shastri is a great historian who has done a lot of research to bring out the political history of South India. Udiynjeral and Nedunjeral Adan. So these were the rulers. Who were they? Recognized as the earliest known Chera king. Udiynjeral is the earliest known Chera king, and Udiynjeral's reign marked the beginning of documented Chera dynasty's rule. So the first documented ruler we get from the Chera dynasty is Udiynjeral, and thus he is the earliest known Chera king. Neduljeral Adan. son of Udiynjeral, known for his military achievements, including defeating 7 crowned kings and earned the exalted status of Adhiraj. So, Nedunjeral Adan was the son of the earliest known Chera king, that is Udiynjeral, and he is known for his military achievements. Adan defeated 7 crowned kings of the time, and thus he was named as Adhiraj, which means superior to the kings. Nedunjeral Adan is also noted for his victories over Yavana traders and a Chola king, significantly expanding a Chera influence. So he fought against Yavana traders, which means Indo Greek or Hellenistic traders also, and gained victory over them. And not only that, he also fought against other Chola king, even though we don't get the name of Chola king, but it is very significant military accomplishment in the career of Nedunjeral Adan that he defeated a Chola king and expanded Chera influence. Poetic exaggerations in Sangam literature depict Adan extending his conquest up to the Himalayas and adapting the Chera bow emblem. So, bow emblem was adapted by Nedunjeral Adan and his kingdom, according to the Sangam literature, which were obviously exaggerated, extended up to the Himalayas. So his conquest extended up to the Himalayas, as has been stated in the Sangam literature. The Chera kings performed significant ritual sacrifices to legitimize their rule, as evidenced by inscriptions and literary references. So all the Chera kings performed the Brahmanical ritualistic sacrifices, and thus they gained an authority to legitimize their rule, as evidenced in the inscription. This has been stated in numerous inscriptions and literary references. Now, Kuttuvan and military campaigns. Who was Kuttuvan and what were his military campaigns? Kuttuvan was the younger brother of Nedunjeral Adan. Kuttuvan is credited with extending Chera power to the eastern and western oceans, enhancing their maritime dominance. So, both in the eastern, which means in the Bay of Bengal, and western means in the Arabian Sea, he extended his influence, and thus the maritime trade during the reign of Kuttuvan became enhanced a lot, and he is credited with extending Chera power to both the seas. Kuttuvan's campaigns included the conquest of Kongu and a successful military engagements against various regional powers, strengthening the Chera kingdoms. So he is credited with the conquest of Kongu, and also he led many military expeditions against various regional powers. Thus, he extended the boundaries of Chera kingdom. One of Adan's sons, described as Adhiraj, led an expedition against Anji, a chieftain of Tagadur, marking a significant victory in the north. So, in the north, in the province of Tagadur, there was a chieftain called Anji, and one of the sons of Nedunjeral Adan, who has been given the title Adhiraj, also led that expedition against Anji. So this is very significant military conquest on the context that this was a victory over the north. Nannan's conflict. Kuttuvan also defeated a ruler named Nannan, who held sway in the area north of Malabar coast, further consolidating Chera territorial control. So the north of Malabar coast was influenced or was controlled by a ruler named Nannan, and Kuttuvan fought against him and defeated him and conquered his territory, thus consolidating the Chera empire. The titles and achievements of these rulers are documented in inscriptions and literary sources, highlighting their strategic and military prowess. So all these have been documented in many inscriptions, Tamil Brahmi inscriptions especially, and also in many literary sources. Even though it has been exaggerated in the literary sources, but still there is definitely some core fact in it, and thus we get an insight into the strategic and military prowess of the Chera kingdom, especially during the reign of Kuttuvan. Senguttuvan and the Chera princess. Who was Senguttuvan and who were the other Chera princes? Senguttuvan was the son of Nedunjeral Adan. Senguttuvan is celebrated for his military victories and significant contribution to the Chera dynasty's legacy. So Nedunjeral Adan was the ruler, and when he died his brother took over the throne. After the son of Nedunjeral Adar came to an adult age, that time again the reins of the kingdom was transferred to the son of Nedunjeral Adan, and that son was Senguttuvan. He is celebrated ruler for his military victories and contributions to the legacy of the Chera dynasty. The post Sangam work Shilapadikaram credits Senguttuvan with attacking Vialur and taking Kodukur fortress in the Kongu country. So the conquest of Kongu was started by his ancestor. He seems to have finished it with proper attacks on the province of Vialur and taking Kodukur fortress in the Congo country. So this was his significant military achievement, and it has been stated in the post Sangam work called Shilapadi. Chola succession conflict. Senguttuvan supported one of the claimants in the Chola succession conflict, showcasing his influence in regional politics. So, in among the Chola dynasty, there was a succession dispute, and that seems to have been solved by the Chera ruler Senguttuvan. He is also credited with fighting against Arya chieftain who was probably in the northern part of Indian subcontinent to obtain stone for an image of Kannaki, a significant cultural and religious event. So Kannaki was one of the leading figures in the epic Shilapatikaram. So she was worshipped, and in order to worship her, an idol was supposed to be built, and for building that idol the stone had to be obtained from the north. Therefore the ruler Senguttuvan fought with an Arya chieftain in order to obtain that stone so that he can make an image of Kannaki. Inscriptions from Pugalur mention three generations of Chera princes from the Irumporai line, indicating the continuity and stability of the Chera rule. So, after Senguttuvan, also we get evidences of Chera rule being continued for up to three generations, and that has been mentioned in different inscriptions. Later Chera kings and Senguttuvan. We will know more about Senguttuvan and the later Chera kings. Senguttuvan's campaign. Senguttuvan is celebrated for his military campaigns against Mokur chieftains and his role in supporting Chola succession claims. So he fought against the Mokur chieftains and also put his own choice of king in the Chola throne. So he solved the Chola succession dispute and also fought wars against the Mokur chieftains. Senguttuvan is credited with obtaining a stone from the Himalayas to create an image of Kannaki, a significant event in Shilapadikaram. This has been mentioned in Shilapadikaram that Senguttuvan went up to the Himalayas and fought numerous battles while going up to that point, and obtained a stone from the Himalayas from which a statue or an image of Kannaki was made and worshipped. He engaged in conflicts with Arya chieftains to assert dominance over strategic regions, including obtaining Kannaki stone and performing rituals in the Ganga. So he fought with the Arya rulers in the north to obtain the stone required for the building of Kannaki's image, and also to assert dominance over certain strategic regions. And this event is very significant in Tamil cultural history. Senguttuvan bathing in the Ganga and bringing Kannaki's stone back to his kingdom is noted cultural and religious achievement. So this is a great religious achievement by Senguttuvan, where he bathed in the Ganga river, obtained the stone and brought it back to his kingdom, from where an image of Kannaki was made and worshipped. Senguttuvan's achievements are celebrated in Sangam literature, highlighting his military and cultural contributions to the Chera dynasty's legacy. So, this ruler contributed a lot to the legacy of the Chera dynasty. Chola king Karikal. So now we will shift our attention towards another major kingdom in South India, that is the Chola kingdom. Who was Karikal? Karikal faced challenges early in his reign, including being deposed and imprisoned, but he managed to escape and re establish his rule. So, the initial phase of Karikal's rule was not at all great. He faced many challenges. Sometimes he was deposed from his kingdom, and sometimes he was also imprisoned. But somehow he managed to escape and then re established his rule over the Chola kingdom. Battle of Venni. One of his major victories was the Battle of Venni, where he defeated the confederacy of Pandyas, Cheras, and their allies, solidifying his dominance. So there he fought against the confederacy, means the Pandyas and the Cheras came together against the Cholas, and that was the Battle of Venni, where Karikal defeated the confederacy of Pandyas and Cheras, and thus he solidified his influence and dominance over his own kingdom. Royal power symbols. Karikal's reign is noted for the use of symbols like the umbrella, which was an insignia of royal power. So, umbrella was used, and that was the insignia of royal power. Defeated chieftains often lost their symbols in battle. So, the people who were defeated by Karikal, their symbols were taken away, or their insignias were taken away. His exploits are celebrated in Tamil literature, particularly in the poem Pattu Pattu, which highlights his leadership and military skills. So, there is an entire poem called Pattu Pattu, and that highlights the military exploits of the Chola king Karikal. Karikal ruled from Kanchipuram and is remembered as both an independent ruler and a significant cultural figure, contributing to the region's development. So, Karikal is remembered as one of the main founders of the Chola dynasty, and also his contribution to the region's development is very much praised in all kind of literary evidences of that time. Now we will see who were the early Pandya kings and what was their contribution in Indian history. Nedion, one of the earliest known Pandya kings, Nedion's reign is marked by significant military victories and contributions to the kingdom's expansion. So the earliest known Pandya king is Nedion, and his during his reign there were many military campaigns and military victories which extended the boundaries of Pandya kingdom. Palshalai Mudukudumi, known for performing Brahmanical sacrifices and establishing links with the northern epic tradition, enhancing the kingdom's religious and cultural influence. So, this was the king, Nedion was the king who performed Brahmanical sacrifices and made different kinds of links with northern epic tradition, and thus there was an enhancement in the religious and cultural sphere of the Pandya kingdom. Nedunjelian. Who was Nedunjelian? He engaged in numerous battles, including defeating a confederacy of Cholas and Cheras. So, Cholas and Cheras came together against the Pandya king Nedunjelian, and they were all defeated. And also, along with the Cholas and Cheras, came the local chieftains at Talayalanganam. So Talayalanganam was the place where this war was fought, and thus we get to know about the military prowess of Nedunjelian. The Sangam literature provides detailed accounts of these early Pandya kings, highlighting their contributions to the region's history and culture. The Sangam literature has a lot of writings about all these Pandya kings and their contribution in the history, religion, and culture of India. These kings were also noted for their patronage to religious practices, including Vedic sacrifices and support of Jain monks. So, Jain monks were patronized by the Pandya kings, and also they were tolerant enough to accommodate all kinds of religious practices in their dominion, and therefore, along with patronage to different Brahmanical religious practices, including Vedic sacrifices, they also gave a lot of support to Jain monks. Now, Sangam literature and historical insights. What is Sangam literature and what are the historical insights we can draw from Sangam? Urbanization debate. Historian Champaka Lakshmi argues that urbanization in Sangam age involved tribal chiefdoms transitioning into potential monarchies with mix of tribal and agrarian societies. So according to historian Champaka Lakshmi, it has been argued that during the Sangam age there were different tribal chiefdoms. They expanded and got influenced in such a way that they transitioned into potential monarchies, and thus the culture was a mix of tribal and agrarian society. So the Sangam age had elements of tribal features and also different agrarian societies. Long distance trade. Evidence from inscriptions and literary sources indicates long distance trade, specialized crafts, and urban centers, suggesting a complex and advanced society. So, this society was very much complex with urban centers who were specialized in different kinds of crafts, and also there was long distance market economy, which means trade and commerce was not limited to that region itself, but it extended to international boundaries. Gifts and tribute. References in Sangam poems to gifts of gold, gems, muslin. Muslin is a kind of silk, and even horses and elephants highlight the differential access to control over resources. So there were different kinds of methods to get control over different kinds of resources like gold, gems, muslins, horses, and elephants. So, thus, we get to know that there was a culture of giving gifts and tributes to the powerful people. The existence of dynastic coins issued by the Chola, Chera, and Pandya monarchies indicates at least a rudimentary state structure and economic organization. So, even though it was not very much developed, but there was an administrative structure which can be stated as a rudimentary state structure in the Sangam age. The Sangam literature, including works like Pattu Pattu and Silapadikaram, provides detailed historical insights into socio-political and economic conditions of the time, supporting archaeological findings. So different socio-political and economic condition of the people changed during the Sangam age, and that can be evidenced from the literature and other archaeological findings of the time. So, who were the poets during the Sangam age, and what was their political function in order to give legitimacy to the king's rule? Role of poets. Poets played a crucial role in legitimizing the rule of kings through eulogies and historical accounts, often exaggerating the achievements of their patrons to enhance their prestige. So, even though the poets exaggerated the achievements of the king, but still their exaggerated accounts had core history in them, and thus the poets are very much important in order to understand the socio-political dynamics of the Sangam age. Patron poet relationship. The reciprocal relationship between poets and their patrons was based on loyalty and material support. The poets received gifts and favors while the kings gained legitimacy and fame. So, for exaggerating the achievements of the king, the poets got gifts and favors from the monarch, while the kings got legitimacy, fame, and they were immortalized through the writings of the poets. Poems like those by I. Auvayar and works such as Silapadikaram are primary sources for understanding the political dynamics and cultural context of the period. So, these are the primary sources for understanding the political history and the culture of the Sangam age. Historical events are often embezzled in poems, providing a mix of fact and fiction. So, even though historical events are very much exaggerated, as much so to say that it was a mix of facts and fiction, but still this poetic license helped in glorifying the rulers and their deeds. But still, they played an important role in glorifying the rulers and keeping an account of their achievements. The contributions of poets and their works have significantly shaped the historical and cultural narratives of the Chera, Chola, and Pandya kingdoms, influencing later historical interpretations. Now, in conclusion and historical significance, we will go through a summary of the entire presentation. The Cheras, Cholas, and Pandyas were pivotal in shaping the history of South India with their extensive trade networks, military campaigns, and cultural contributions. Their participation in Indian Ocean trade routes facilitated economic prosperity and cultural exchanges, connecting them to other civilizations. Notable military campaigns such as the Battle of Venni and conquest of Senguttuvan contributed to their dominance and territorial expansion. These kingdoms left a rich cultural legacy, including contributions to Tamil literature, architecture, and religious practices as seen in Sangam literature and archaeological findings. The study of inscriptions, literary sources, and archaeological evidence continues to enhance our understanding of their impact, revealing the complex and advanced nature of these ancient South Indian civilizations. So, we have discussed a lot about the Sangam age. We have focused on the dynasties of Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas. Hope you have loved this video. These videos will help you to read a lot about Indian history. I am going chronologically, and while explaining, somewhere I may have made mistakes regarding pronouncing the names of different rulers or places. Our country is a huge country, and the accent and language differs from one place to another. Hence, it is very difficult to describe something in the local accent of that period or region. So I apologize for the mistakes that I have made in my past videos and also in this video, and I will try to improve with your suggestions. So please support me so that I can bring brighter contents in future. Thank you so much for your love and support.